you have come about a broken string. This one's not broken, but we're going to pretend that it is. So the first thing you need to do is take the string off. Only do one string at a time. You have what's called in here, inside your F hole, if you look on the E string side, right behind the bridge, right about here, there is what's called sound post, and that sound post goes top to bottom. And if you release all the tension of the strings on the bridge, you can make that sound post fall, and then you do need to go to a luthier to get that set back up. So your string is broken, let's pretend. So you want to turn your peg loose, so you're turning it toward the floor, or if you've got it in position, toward yourself, and that string is going to come off. And then if you look inside the peg box, there is a hole on the peg, so we'll take that out. So there's a hole inside that peg. Just set that back in there. Depending upon which string you're changing, you need to make sure that the strings, this G string peg will be underneath. Then the E string peg is on this first peg right here. That's your E. Your A is here, and your D on most violins will be here. Ignore mine because I have that fifth string, but you'll usually have 4 pegs: E, A, G, and D. So don't let this confuse you, but the string change is the same. Then down here at your tailpiece, if you don't have a fine tuner, there'll be a hole inside here that you can stick the string in and make sure that ball is captured very tightly in there. If you have a fine tuner, set your ball inside the fine tuner like this one is, and make sure it's set down in. If your fine tuner isn't quite wide enough, you can take a little bit of a butter knife or screwdriver if it's really thin, and kind of spread those ever so slightly. If you keep breaking a string down here, often it can be because there's a burr, and you might need to take that in and just have your luthier kind of file that out and make sure that you don't have any burrs or problems. The other thing about breaking a string down here, it can be because you've tuned it too sharp. So the first step is to take off the old string, make sure all of your old string parts are out up here. Put it inside your tailpiece or in, and then just kind of, you've got a little tick mark here on the bridge for each string, and that tick mark shouldn't be too deep. If it gets too deep, you're going to start wearing out your string. The string should actually kind of sit right on top of the bridge in just a little bit of a narrow groove. If you're getting too deep of grooves, you might need a new bridge or those grooves to be kind of worked on a little bit. Then while you keep it a little bit under tension, let me see if I can do this so that you can see it. I'm going to flip around here a little bit with my chair stuck on the rug. Okay, so we'll flip around. Then you're going to take the end of the new string and put it over the top of the peg and right into that hole, and make sure you're not feeding it underneath one of these other strings. Otherwise that's going to bind up the string and you're going to break the other string as you go up, and it won't tune correctly. But make sure you're out of the way of any of the strings you're not changing. Then put the tail of the string, I like to go all the way through so I make sure it catches really well. So if you can see that it's pushed all the way through that hole, then wrap it around. If your peg is adjusted well, you can usually get 1 or 2 rolls of the string on one side, and then you're going to cross over to the other side. And there's not any tension on this yet, so there's no tone coming out of the string yet. As soon as I get to that point where there's tone, and I've already got my tuner set up, so I've got tone now, Now I'm going to put a little bit of pressure, and it's always okay. I wouldn't change a string by wrapping it while you're in playing position. It's fine to do it. Okay, so now we've got, and I'm pushing just slightly here and pushing it in so it will seat into the peg box. And we know this is a G, so I'm at almost E, now F. Now, if it's a new string, this is going to stretch for about an hour or two, depending upon your string. Sometimes it can be a day, so you'll have to retune your instrument. Now, if I've seen it's already like stretched flat. There we go. If you're putting all of the strings, replacing all of them, do them one at a time so your sound post doesn't fall. If your sound post does fall, don't panic. You'll hear a rattle inside, but you do want to get that replaced before you put any tension on the bridge. Otherwise, you can make the top of the instrument kind of sink in just a little bit right there. So I would take it. A luthier will not create, it's not a panic over that. That's what we're trained to do, and we know how to do that just fine. So I wouldn't try that yourself though, because you need some internal tools that are specific to having luthier training. So we have A now. When we replace a string, sometimes the other strings will go off. So my A is now a little flat. So I'm going to use a fine tuner because it was within a couple of cents. And D is now flat, so I'm going to... And G has gone flat again. My shoulder rest. Okay, that's close enough. So that's how you change a string one at a time. Usually if you're changing all four strings, change the E string first. Change the G string first, then do the outside string. So do G, then E, then do D, then A. And that makes it so that you won't trap them. The strings always go over the top of the strings so that you're tuning up by turning it toward the ceiling when you've got it in playing, and you're tuning it flat by coming back down this way. They always go over the top, not underneath. And you always need to make sure you're pizzicatoing them. Don't go too sharp. If you go too sharp, you're going to break a string right here. Usually is where they'll break if they've been tuned too sharp. Or down here at the ball, they'll pull off of the ball if they get way too sharp. So ear training and knowing what tune you're going for is really important. If you take a week or two and sing an A every day, A, and look at your tuner and go, wake up in the morning and go, A, you're going to then know if that's the right A or not, because there are octave A's, which you've learned. So you don't want to tune down an octave, and you definitely don't want to tune up an octave. So a little bit of a beginning tuning lesson. If you feel anxious about that, don't hesitate to take it somewhere. Or if you have a friend who's more advanced as a player, take them and have them give you a tuning lesson. Just take your time with this and be patient. It happens, and And it happens that people break strings, and if that happens too, take it somewhere if you break a string. Wearing and tear of strings, they usually last a year, maybe 2 years, if you don't care about the falseness of a string. But usually you can get about a year out of strings. Most professional players will change them every 6 months, but I know it's expensive to do that. So, but you'll find that sometimes just by putting your fingers down, you'll wear the string. The wrap will start to come undone. If you notice the bow, there's like a slidiness, or the string gets pitty, and you look at it and you don't see good wrap on your bow. The strings are just wearing out. That usually doesn't happen if you change your strings every year, but if you're waiting 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're going to wear your strings out. They'll wear out here, they'll wear out here, they'll wear where you put your strings down, fingers down, and then they'll go false on you. So when you play the open string and then the harmonic at a half that divides the string in half, the harmonic will be super flat. And that tells you that you need to change the string. So I hope that's helpful on changing the string and working with your pegs. Don't hesitate if you have a teacher to actually say, I need some lessons on tuning, or a friend who might be able to help you as well. Oh my goodness, I am going to miss doing the violin case. This has been a fun set of videos to do. Please email me at austin.strings@gmail.com and let me know how your lessons are coming, and maybe send some videos of you playing. Thank you so much.